So the next thing I'd like to cover is copyrights. So what is a copyright? Well, if you break the word into its two parts, copy and write, a copyright gives you the right to make copies, which is a right that's exclusive to the author or the owner of the copyright, and nobody else can make copies of it. And that's where the value of a copyright lies. Now, a lot of inventors turn their ears off when they hear the word copyright because they think that only a patent can protect their invention. And yes, that's true. A copyright will not protect the function of an item, but you as an inventor should not ignore some of the benefits that copyrights can bring to you. So when people think about traditional copyright, it covered written works of art such as Shakespeare's plays and things like that.
To be or not to be?
For inventors, there are a lot of other things other than the traditional plays and movies and songs that can be protected by a copyright. For most inventors, one of the most important things they're going to have is a website. Now, with many inventors, a website is the most valuable thing that they can have in terms of promoting their idea. They can use a website to show how their product works, to maybe try to do some sales of the product, to use it to attract investors. Basically, you can use your website for a wide variety of things. So if you have a website and you'd like to protect it, a copyright is a good way to do it. Now, it's important that you as the inventor either write all the original text yourself or have somebody else do it as a work for hire. You definitely want to make sure that you're not Control-C, Control-V-ing text from other people's websites onto your website. Another thing you can protect with a copyright as an inventor is your packaging. Now, your packaging is something that is unique to your product, and hopefully you created it or you paid someone to create original packaging for yourself, and that's something you also can copyright. In addition, any sort of promotional or advertising materials that you turn out, anywhere from a trade show banner to say an owner's manual, these are also things you can protect by copyright. We get a lot of questions about, well, can't I just mail it to myself? Or don't I just get a copyright as soon as I create something? Well, mailing it to yourself is generally considered to be the worst attempt to protect yourself that you really can have out there. Because obviously envelopes can be opened and dates can be altered and things like that. So mailing something to yourself really is of no use. What about the common law copyright that you get whenever you create something? Well, you do get a copyright when you create something. However, it's very difficult to enforce that copyright. It's much better if you register your copyright with the Library of Congress, because that gives certain presumptions in your favor, and it allows you, if you have to stop somebody else from copying your work, it allows you to sue under a theory called statutory damages. And it allows, statutory damages allow for you to seek up to $150,000 for knowing and willful copyright infringement. And the latest court cases have shown that knowing and willful basically means Control-C, Control-V. If you copied it, you knew you were copying it. And so if you have a registered copyright, you can sue people under a theory of statutory damages. Another question we often get is from bloggers, and bloggers will say, well, sometimes I change my website 3 times a day. Do I have to copyright each additional version of the website? Well, the short answer is, in theory, yes, because a copyright only protects the website as you submitted it that day. It doesn't cover the additions you made to it. As a practical matter, though, you have to be careful where you're throwing your money, and if you're filing for 3 new copyrights a day on your website, you're going to find that your legal budget is going to disappear pretty quickly. So instead, we suggest that people copyright their website every time they make a major change, or in the case of a blogger, perhaps every month or so, to include the new blogs that you filed on your ideas or whatever you're trying to get across on your website. Again, So the key point to remember with respect to how many copyrights you file is that a copyright will protect only the information that was submitted with that copyright application. It won't automatically include additions, improvements, and changes you made to your website. So you do need to file for a new copyright every time you do make a major addition or an improvement to your website, or again, as in the case of a blogger, perhaps every month or two when you have a large amount of new material there. So how long is a copyright good for? Well, under the current law, at the time this video is being made, copyright protection extends for the life of the author plus 70 years, which means that for people like me who copyright things like PowerPoint presentations and class handouts, probably when my copyright expires, my heirs are not going to be too terribly concerned because probably it's not going to have a whole lot of value. However, if you happen to be Stephen King or John Grisham, or one of the famous musicians, you're very concerned about when your copyright will expire because, frankly, along with that expiration is the right of your heirs to make a whole lot of money off your work. So generally, the more prolific and popular you are, the more you are concerned about the actual date at which your copyright will expire. Now, as opposed to a patent or trademark, which is good only in the country in which it's granted, through a variety of treaties, a U.S. copyright is recognized in most countries in the world where you'd actually want to travel to enforce your copyright. And with, a few exceptions, by and large, any place you'd want to enforce your copyright will recognize a U.S. copyright as being valid in those countries. Copyrights. As I said before, a lot of inventors turn their ears off when they hear copyright. They think, well, copyright just protects musicians and writers and things like that. Well, it does protect them. But as an inventor, you can also protect your website with a copyright. And when I first began teaching these classes about 10 years ago, I would tell people, well, you absolutely need a threefold brochure, and you might want to think about this thing called a website. Now, I'm telling people, forget the threefold brochure. People are just going to think you kill trees. And instead, they're going to look for a website because everybody looks for things online right now. And the best way to protect a website, frankly, is with a copyright. They're the least expensive type of intellectual property out there, and they're a very good way to protect websites, packaging, owner's materials, any advertising or promotional literature you turn out.